interior design major, and she is biochemist.
It's all running and recording, so we can start when you're ready.
Just hit got it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, we're rolling.
We are.
Okay. Call to order, visitor comments. Mara, you're a visitor these days.
I'm here at a request to answer questions, so I'm not necessarily a visitor.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Well, tell us the story anyways.
Yeah.
That's the way you work. We're gonna have sustainability here, but maybe they're still coming.
Jamie may be 10 to 15 minutes late, she mentioned, so.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
we can circle back around then, right?
that we will do. Approval of last month's meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second,
All right, thank you for that. Bless you.
You have to call for the vote.
Oh, all in favor?
I.
All against? All right. New business. The parking minimums.
So, Mr. Chair, this is, sorry for the noise, everyone. I forgot my earbuds. I'm sitting at the airport, so if you hear economic activity, that's what we have going on around us. So commerce is happening. Mara is here to answer questions. I did provide the mandatory minimums per a request from the last meeting, which are in chapter 53 of the code. I'm going to put them up on the screen. These are mandatory minimums that are for parking that go far beyond the business community, so we can certainly narrow down the conversation that you wish to have. But I wanted to just highlight that you have them. Mara is here to answer questions, and then we can address them however you want to go forward. So give me a second here and I'll get the right screen up, and there's your mandatory minimums.
Fine.
Um,
Do you want me to help with some history?
There you go.
some history, and can you enlarge that also?
I don't know if you're gonna want to enlarge that. It's pages long.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not gonna help.
Okay,
Super long. No. So the city had been using St. Louis County's parking codes for decades. Back in 2019, we decided with the planning commission that we needed to update the codes. So in updating the codes, we opened up a series of public hearings. We had 6 public hearings before the planning commission. We had another 5 public hearings before the city council. We spent 14 months on it. We updated the codes to match new uses. We had added and updated in the codes the year before. We went in working with sustainability. We added additional bike parking that could substitute for car parking. We made, it used to be in order to get a reduction in parking, you had to pay for a variance before the Board of Adjustment. We removed that out so that you could go and get an administrative approval for up to a 20% reduction. We updated a lot of the codes to match what county was using so that if a business came in or moved from somewhere else, they'd know what they had to deal with. We went through a couple other things just to elaborate and make it easier to use. So that update happened and was approved in, I want to say 2020 when we finally finished it, December 2020. The code is misunderstood a lot because people think, so for example, I have a building right now that's selling in Old Webster up north of the railroad tracks, and the business owner came in and he's like, well, what do I need to do? And this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, he was turning in his business license and he's like, well, are you going to count my parking spaces? And I said, I'm not counting your parking spaces. It was an office before, you're an office now. Even if the new code says you need 10 parking spaces and you have 3, there's nothing we do with that. It's only if you change to something that is much more intense. So for example, if you are currently a warehouse use and you're going to put a retail space in, if you're going from warehouse to retail, it's a pretty big number. We're going to evaluate that. We're going to look at where your space is. We might need to see if you can share some parking if you're going to have issues, but if you're in shared business districts and you have an employee parking lot, it counts. So we don't really, it's more when you expand substantially. So new square footage that you're adding on, or if you're changing to something that is a much more intense parking use. So it rarely comes into play for some of the new things, but you want to have it in place in case someone tears down something completely and starts new. So in most cases, it's only addressed when someone's coming in for a conditional use permit, which is supposed to address parking anyway. So we do have a lot of these uses in here. Very few of them need to have to be evaluated at any time, but when they were needing to be evaluated, we didn't have a chart. We were referencing county. And that meant we weren't necessarily addressing what our community needs. So it was last updated in 2020. If there are changes that you want to propose, you'd ask the city council to direct staff to look at any changes. But I think it would be good to look through the code because a lot of people haven't seen our update from 2020. Everyone's kind of forgotten some of the stuff that we put in. And I know it should be available on the website, but for a while there, like some of our newest ordinances haven't been integrated yet. Sometimes you go to the code and then you have to go to other ordinances that have been approved. This one is definitely in the code section. So if there's other questions related to that, let me know.
Actually, Mara, it seems like you also look really intently at like some other places, some other like cities that might be our size where there's like higher density or different use kinds of things sort of going on. Is there anything that that you've come across since this was evaluated or anything that is worth like the city considering, or like especially as we're looking towards like creating more walkable or bikeable or anything like that even?
We integrated a lot of that in there.
Yeah.
I mean, we really did. No, there hasn't been anything specific, but I mean, I go to training probably every other week. I've got one on historic preservation today. I do these, we looked at EVs. I just did an EV training. So I mean, we're looking at all of that. I know that we already have on our to-do list to look at electronic vehicle charging areas and EVs for homes, but nothing new has come up in just, I mean, again, we just updated in 2020, so nothing new's come up in those last couple of years. The one that was important was the bike parking, and then trying to remove reductions from having to go to Board of Adjustment. That seemed onerous.
Yeah.
It was just too onerous.
Yeah.
And this one, we moved it from, used to be 10%, could be administratively approved by me of a 10% reduction. We've bumped it up. It's now a 20% reduction can be approved administratively. If you want more than a 20%, you go to Plan Commission, but there's no fee for the application. You just go to a Plan Commission meeting with your paperwork and can get a reduction.
Yeah. It's like, we do have some areas, both, you know, over by us at Marshall and Summit, and then like at Big Bend and Elm and things like that, where, you know, having like an employee parking lot, that's some wild luxury. I can't even
Right.
imagine.
Areas like that, I mean, basically, if it's currently a retailer office use and they don't have any parking spaces, we can't require any parking spaces. If they're going to come in with something that needs a conditional use permit, we're going to evaluate parking. If it was, again, like a warehouse use, even if it hasn't been used in a while and someone goes in with office, we're going to evaluate and say you do need to find, you know, some parking. But yeah, it is tough. There are certain areas where they're existing, just like Old Webster. I mean, Old Webster is existing. It's pretty tough when someone new comes in because then everybody has to sort of shift all of their parking. But yeah, there's some tough areas, but we don't require people to put in new parking, and businesses are still, you know, continuing to, so again, sort of shift how they use some of their spaces or where people park.
Do you feel like we're losing restaurants based on them being able to not provide parking?
I don't think we are.
Okay.
Everyone who's come in to me with even like thoughts of places to go, you know, the only ones that have not come in were ones where they couldn't work out with the landlord.
Okay.
So I wish, you know, there's a couple places where I wish I could get someone in, but no, we haven't lost any that I know of that have come to me and said, hey, I'm interested. Here's where I want to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
no
they,
one-
okay.
Yeah. And the nice thing is they only need a CUP for restaurants right now in Old Webster, but not even in all of Old Webster. So if restaurants come in and out for like the Novus building, or down where you are, those don't require a conditional use permit, so they aren't evaluated for their parking.
Okay.
Okay, any other thoughts or anything?
The parking minimums, is that for like off-street parking or does that include street parking?
It typically is for off-street parking. However, in Old Webster, it does integrate, because in Old Webster, it's the D district and it's supposed to be the overall shared parking. And then sometimes in the evaluation of a reduction, in the reduction, we can include on-street parking. It just depends because you can't identify on-street as being specific for someone. So if you're going to say that that's what's being used for their employees, we can't give that away. But we do evaluate them one by one, but unless someone's, again, adding 300 square feet to their building or doing something else, we're not even counting those numbers. We're not even running those numbers. So they're able to move in and they don't have to provide the quote minimum.
Anything else? Okay,
Thank you, Mark.
yes,
Yeah.
nice to have you back.
If you-
Sorry, Eric.
If you don't need anything else, I am meeting with business owner at 8:30. Is there any, I know I haven't seen you guys in a while. Anything else?
City updates, anything? You wanna?
Sorry, brain.
How about the
The-
Regions Bank Coffee House? That always gets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so 23 West, I know that I've approved their signage. It's very minimalistic signage. I've approved their signage, and I know they're just a lot of construction's very slow. I wish I could say it was going faster, but their permit has not expired, but they did ask for they've approved all their signage as well as Elias Law that's going behind them. So their signage has been approved. The ICL building up in Owen Ridge is doing a pretty big addition. We just issued their building permit. We've got, I know everyone asks about total access urgent care. I don't know. I don't know when they plan to open or
I mean,
not
they
open.
closed. Oh, really?
Oh.
Okay,
Thank you. I hadn't really looked that up.
yeah, they fill those things up so fast and I've been like, what is going on?
I
with
think
this thing?
everything's kind of frozen.
Ah, okay,
That's what I heard on the street.
Okay.
How about,
The barber opened in Alan Naring's old office. They are it's two women from Illinois. And they were super excited to open up in Webster.
yeah,
how about the space on Big Bend across from Tully Tire, the rear?
Oh, yes, so that one is a salon, is going into the first floor space and a little bit of the basement. They were doing a couple apartment spaces where there used to be apartments above. They're pulling off the back of the building, putting an addition on. And then in the future, they're talking about doing an addition over the parking lot area, but they're not there yet. It's sort of like second phase. And there will be a big green roof. They're doing a green roof on top with a patio. So that should be pretty cool.
Do they have a
Um,
name?
I'm trying to remember. It's someone from the Boulevard who's opening up their own
Oh,
space. And I think they're also going to have permanent makeup there, maybe. Sorry, I'm getting some of them confused with one another, where someone comes in and talks to me and then they're not sure if they're going in or not, so I'm not sure. I know you guys already know about chocolates further down. If someone else who's looking at a space, shoot, no, I don't have their business license in yet.
What's the
Anything
name
on
of the
Marshall and
company?
Summit?
Sorry, what?
Anything on Marshall there by Summit?
Nothing right now. People have been talking about the one building, that's probably gonna go, I think it's getting close to going to tax sale. I think August, it's going to tax sale. Oh, we're doing an update in Crossroads at the next city council meeting. So the area of Crossroads that goes from the dentist office and that little building on the end at Elm, all the way down, almost to Art of Entertaining. That's a PC planned commercial district. But the way the ordinance was written in 1999, they didn't write it with like the idea that codes update over time, and so it references the wrong code section. So we're gonna update that code section and clean up the ordinance. The ordinance was written really, really specific, all about building the building on the corner. And so almost the entire ordinance is all how big it should be and how big it could go and what number of parking spaces, but it doesn't actually match. It's a little bigger than what was actually built. So we're gonna clean up that ordinance and we're gonna go straight to council at the next council meeting on that. You're gonna probably tell them about the solar panels, but at the council meeting after that, we're going to remove that you can't have solar panels on your front elevation in historic districts. So we're gonna notify Old Webster, Old Orchard, Old Webster, Webster Park, Central Webster, and Marshall Place. And we're removing the word solar panels out and making it that it's more of an administrative approval instead of having to go to architectural review board. That'll be at a hearing at the second council meeting in April.
Is 23 West the name of the coffee shop?
23W, yes,
Okay.
23W for 23 West, that's the name of the coffee shop. Yeah, 23W, and they've got these cool little, they've got longitude and latitude signs that are going on the corner of the building, which is kind of cool. Feel like I'm missing something else. There's an addition going on at the high school, in case you haven't driven by in a while. They took off the little theater. They're building a structure there. There's been a bunch of work down at the building across from the school district's warehouse building on Brentwood. Core Properties is in the far corner. They've been doing a lot of renovations to that 2-story structure.
What are they doing at the high school?
So they're building a new little theater. So they're building a theater and it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be a black box.
State of the art.
Yeah, state of the art. It's gonna have like where your seats would go will be able to telescope out. So you can have like the stair step for certain types of events, but then it's gonna all go back into like a wall so that you can have more of an open space. They're connecting back through making it ADA accessible. There's going to be, and that space is also going to be for emergencies, it will be able to be closed off for like tornado shelter area. And then they're going to have a second story, I think, with some classroom space. It's been a little while since I've looked at it. Thank you. Yeah, special school district, which is sort of where some of them were today. Sorry, I didn't have I usually write a couple notes in the list.
That's pretty good.
But if anyone has anything else, let me know. I'm around.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Mark.
Yes.
All right,
Bye,
Well-
guys.
Bye, Mara.
we will circle back around to visitor comments.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I think, Chairman, this is Jamie Hassmeyer, the Chair of the Sustainability Commission. This is the Green Dining Initiative. Jamie, the email you sent me, do you want me to put that on the screen?
Sure, that'd be
Okay.
great. Thank you.
And then I want to categorize this correctly. Sustainability approached us as a staff about how to talk to Business Development Commission on partnering on a policy recommendation that combines sustainability and the business community. So that's why it's on the agenda here today. We mentioned it briefly last month, and I'll put up the screen and let the chairwoman take it away.
Thanks, Eric. Hi, Rebecca. I know some of you. Hi. I'm Jamie Hassmeyer. I've lived in Webster for almost 10 years this month. I'm the chair of the Sustainability Commission, and we have a plan called Forever Webster Groves. It is a statement of really like a values and a to-do list. It is how we can make Webster more sustainable and make responsible decisions now, so we're protecting the future Webster residents. And so part of that, one of the big, and hello, I'm sorry, I got you. Hi. one major issue when it comes to where we are, in the environmental world is food waste. And that releases a lot of methane gas when it goes to the wrong spot. And so one solution that the commission discussed was, well, how can we help our restaurants reduce food waste and other sustainability issues such as recycling and such? So one of these efforts, you may or may not be familiar with Earth Day 365 here in the St. Louis area. And I can share this.
Oh, excellent.
This stuff
Thank
now.
you.
Yeah, sure.
Appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. And Earth Day 365 has a couple of really great programs. They do the big Earth Day Festival at Forest Park in April, and they do something called the Green Dining Alliance. Have you all heard of this in various capacities? Okay, so everything from like coffee shops to various restaurants throughout the St. Louis region can opt in to have an audit. There are fees involved, and what the GDA offers is kind of a goal-setting plan to help restaurants identify where they can stop some waste, where they can be better stewards of our resources, and anything from food waste to light bulbs. So it runs the spectrum. Typically, if you are any restaurateurs here? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, one of my favorite jobs. Like compost and compostable takeout containers usually are like super pricey, and it really, when we know that food items have such a thin margin, we're trying to identify like what are the hurdles for restaurants to get into more sustainable practices and using that type of carry out containers. And so, if cost is one of those things, then how can we help restaurants with that sort of expense? If composting, not on site, but having a compost company come and pick up your food waste, what does that look like cost wise? So Earth Day 365 through their Green Dining Alliance is here to partner with restaurants to help identify how to help them. They offer micro grants. And so because this network, this program already exists, we as a commission were like, well, how can we help on ramp the restaurants in the Webster Groves area? In Maplewood, and in South Grand and the Loop, they have something called a Green Dining District. And that is something like 25 to 30% of the restaurants have signed on to be a part of the Green Dining Alliance. And with that, restaurants would get marketing, GDA takes out ads and like Sauce and Feast, magazines. They do like bus terminals and sometimes every once in a while a billboard to identify, who their green dining partners are. Also Healthy Planet, if you've ever looked at that magazine. And so what we think is a really cool opportunity here is to reach out to our local restaurants and really see if there is an appetite, pardon the metaphor, for becoming a green dining district. So at the commission, the Anwar and I, who's a commissioner, she and I and Eric have talked through what some of this could look like. And we devised some sort of a loose plan and outline some of the benefits to businesses and some of the benefits to municipalities. I can share this with you all as well. And benefits to business are, one of the main ones is that it really attracts people who are like-minded and sustainably minded. And that is a lot, starting with the millennial generation, that is super important to them, to support businesses who share their values. And it runs from that important business aspect of walking the talk. And I feel like that's what Webster is doing right now as well. So how can we help our businesses? So I'm here today to talk to you about it, to see if there's any interest and to see like if there's any way we can collaborate our commissions to offer restaurants who might be interested additional micro grants. Sustainability Commission has been, I don't know what's the right word? It's not allocated because it's not our money to spend, but with the ARPA funds, we've been
Granted money.
yeah, sort of.
You have that available for your budget.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And so what we are curious about is taking a nice portion of that money to help onboard this program. If it's micro grants for composting, to cover composting costs for a year, if it's micro grants for those carryout containers, all the way to like buy, if you know, if a little bit of money can help upgrade refrigeration and you know, bigger kitchen, back of the house types of improvements.
Do we have any restaurants in Webster that are part of the 360?
So the folks down at Olive and Oak, so O&O, Clover and Perennial, they have dabbled loosely with GDA. I don't know if they are currently certified. I should have looked that up. And then Llewellyn's, yes.
Llewellyn's has solar panels.
Yeah, they
You
do.
got a charging station too.
Mhm, yep, in the back, yep. And so, yeah, I know of those two. I know like people like Vulcan are already, you know, doing a lot of these things. People like Maypop are already doing so much of
Everything we do
this.
is compostable.
Yeah.
Like, and we have the Simple Organics recycling.
Oh, you do?
Like,
Fabulous, okay.
yeah. And we're looking at solar panels this week.
Oh my gosh, this is thrilling. And so like, what would like the hurdle that we identify with restaurants, especially after just emerging from lockdowns and pandemic restrictions and all of that is like, well, is it just the annual fee to become a part of GDA, which is the initial fee is $250 for the audit. So that's an expense that some restaurants could just easily be like, yeah, we don't have time or money for that. So our commission wants to help, you know, ease that burden and subsidize that for the first year. We kind of have right now a loose 3-year plan where we would subsidize the full, thank you, Eric, the full cost for the first year. And then what Maplewood does is they subsidize, and then subsequent years to re-up your certification is $200. And Maplewood covers $100 of that. So they carry half, you know, 50% of that is subsidized. And so we're looking at that as like, oh, okay, well, that's how we can show that, you know, we're going to partner with you. We're going to give you this much runway. And then decide on year 3, like, is this something that is, you know, will the city be in a better spot financially? Will we all be able to say, hey, this really does add value to our business districts? You know, is this something we want to move forward with as far as subsidies goes? Maplewood has had theirs for a while. Brentwood just wrote theirs into an ordinance to share with their restaurants. They don't have any current restaurants on the GDA, but they believe they have a really vibrant sustainability commission and they believe in the program. And so they really want to make it, you know, accessible for their restaurants.
So it looks like Big Sky is on there as well.
Thank you.
Olive and Oak and the Wellens on the website.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for looking that up.
Do we know of all the restaurants in Webster, how many we would need to get to that 25%?
So Eric, did you get my note about getting an updated list of restaurants?
I certainly did. Sorry, folks, I'll make sure I'm on the camera here. So we noticed and we encountered an issue in that exact issue that you asked about, Chairman. The 2019 list of restaurants was manually compiled, and unbeknownst to me, when we do take in the business licenses, we're not, even though we ask each business to tell us what kind of business for the purposes of the business directory, other than that business directory, it's not recorded anywhere of what type of business. So we have to manually go through the business licenses and with all the businesses to determine the total number. We would guess from the 2019 list, which of course there are many changes from, you know, it's not an insignificant number. I think if I'm correct, Jamie, you looked at the list after I did. I would guess maybe 35 to 50 businesses that would probably need to be in to get to the quarter. And such, because obviously it does cover coffee shops and other things.
Mhm.
So we are changing our practice to be able to capture that. We asked the county for all the licensed food vendors in the city. We have not heard back from the county with that list, so we are trying to cover all bases to get that. What's the universe that we're talking about if we're looking at this as a financial consideration?
Thank you, Eric. So to be determined still on what that number is. I would like, I know that restaurants are, you know, so swamped and busy with other responsibilities. I would like to figure out a way, you know, the commission can meet them where they are. Yeah,
I have a few different things, because we're already doing it. We just didn't want to pay $250 for somebody to say, stamp it and say you're
Right.
doing it.
right.
So it might be an easier hurdle than you think to like get to that 25% of like the area to be.
Okay.
But some of the hurdles to it are like, and you know, just in other things, you know, like you were saying, the products, you know, they do have a higher cost.
Mhm.
But can we negotiate with Garrett Paper to get like you know, like a group discount for all of the restaurants in Webster? If the Sustainability Commission could do that, that would be a
Great
giant
idea.
thing.
Mhm.
Same thing with the composting, like, you know, it's, I don't know, like for one of the containers, it's like $170 a month.
Mhm.
But if we can all do, if we're all doing it and it makes it more efficient for, you know, St. Louis Composting to come in and do it or whatever, then, you know, those kinds of things are added value.
Mhm. Yeah.
The $250 initial fee, I mean, that's like it's just a mental hurdle as well as like a thing. And so if that's free, I'm like, okay, we'll do that. And then splitting the cost down the road will help maintain that list on there.
Yeah.
But I 100% agree that people are driven for these kinds of, like, they want to know that their dollar is going to something that not only is like for them and feels good, but it's like having a greater impact. And so I think that it will draw people outside the region to Webster to dine here.
Mhm.
That they do look at guides like these. We participated in things like the vegan dining and seen like a huge, more than we would have ever anticipated response to those kinds of
Mhm.
things. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
I mean, it's all good, but if we can like collectively negotiate some things like better pricing and more ease.
Mhm.
I also just came from LA where it's now mandated, you cannot throw away food waste.
Yeah. Yep.
Even in your
No.
home.
No food waste
No
in
food
your,
waste.
in your
It goes into the
landfill.
yard waste.
Yeah.
It just goes into the yard waste bin and they collect it that way.
Clayton's doing.
I know, I was wondering, like,
I know.
we just negotiate all of us too.
Yeah, I know.
I would
Trust
love
me.
to do that. I came back home like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
So
So,
question,
Yes.
what, once a district has been given the go-ahead that they are a green district, what comes with that? I mean, is this signs that get put up, stickers?
Yeah, definitely stickers. There's support from GDA where they'll run an ad in their, you know, the magazines and on socials. They also offer a couple of really like fun events. There's something called the Curbside Hop that started in the pandemic times to help restaurants. And so it was curbside. So like people would you know, come in and order, or they would order special things and then, you know, it would be delivered to them curbside. And now it's like a dine in, but it's a special kind of menu item to highlight, you know, whatever that restaurant is like their fave. And then there's also like this little thing here is a green dining passport. So I have like a little cute of a couple of different restaurants and everything, like it's like, oh, free cup of coffee to like buy one get one and things like that. So pretty cute. And you can opt into this. It's not all their restaurants on here, but you know, they really understand the restaurant industry and they really want to try to help you know, do good by the earth in the future. But understanding where restaurants are and those slim margins, so they have a boatload of respect.
I think in general, we are absolutely with you and would, you know, anything you would want from us, we'd be happy to help. I would look to you to say, how do we get in contact with restaurants? I mean, we've had a ton of trouble. I mean, Stacy, you know, just with Old Webster. You know, we talk about, you know, all the events that we do, and we try and get the restaurants involved. You know, we're bringing a lot of business to them, but they don't even have time to
Yeah.
come to
No,
our
it's
meetings or
exhausting.
do anything. So
That's-
how,
yeah.
how can, if we're going to help
Yeah.
however we are. How do we,
I would
how do we
say
do
if they
this?
could take on some of the, like I said, the negotiation part of the, you know, like any kind of, because most people. There's like only like probably two paper supply place or, you know, like product supply places in St. Louis. Cause you know, they deliver whatever. So like Garrett Paper, I
Yeah.
think is one of the most common ones. So if we could negotiate some sort of special discount that
Mhm.
goes on all of the accounts in Webster
Mhm.
when they buy those products, on all of their stuff.
Yeah,
Just the, you know, just the compostable ones.
yeah, yeah.
Or like a contract with, you know, Simply Organic Recycling.
Mhm.
You know, like there might be some coordination, because those are just in the same kind of roll-off things that your, you know, your.
And curbside
stuff
toters,
is.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so like, but so there may be some discussions with the city on how that would work in areas where they're gonna fill them up quicker or
Mhm,
whatever. They do
mhm.
multiple pickups a week, so.
Mhm.
That's, you know, but negotiating a price for businesses in
Yeah.
Webster would be a big deal. And as far as like participating in that program, if it could just be facilitated somehow so that we just don't have to think about it. We're just like, oh yeah, boop, $100 every year.
Right, right.
Like, I don't know whether that would make sense with the business license kind of thing, and if you just like tack it on there because you're in the Green Dining Alliance, or if you guys just reach out and send like a little click and we just, all we have to do is put our card information in and
Mhm.
done.
Okay.
So like
Make it
just
as
reducing
easy.
all those like
Yeah.
hurdles and thinking,
Mhm.
so that all the person that's ordering has to do is
Mhm.
Like a
select
subscription.
select it, yeah, or even an auto renew subscription.
I was just gonna say, I know those, I feel like sometimes those are predatory, but like unless you tell us otherwise. And it won't be like canceling your Hulu account, we're not gonna make you. Go through all those hoops, but perhaps that's something we can consider too. As far as reaching restaurants though, because the commission did try this, I think it was like in 2018. And it was like a series of emails and then letters and then, hi, I'm here and I'm from the commission, and restaurants are just busy, and so.
I'd get it all together in a package, because if you're talking to people multiple times, they'll be like,
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
But again, you.
Well, we were thinking, like, my cohort, Anna, she was like, what if we have like a lunch and learn? Is that a pipe dream? Because people just don't have time.
Well, here's what I mean,
Yeah.
we don't need to talk about this right now, and waste your time talking about this, but I do feel like at some point, a Webster coalition has to be created. And this kind of stuff needs to be presented, and maybe it's a quarterly thing that group needs.
We're talking about a coffee next month, so like, if you wanted to get any information from anybody that shows up at that point, we're trying to draw people, you know, in on other things too.
Yeah.
But it might give you some time to also get any information together on.
Yeah.
It's a Webster Coalition of Restaurants.
Yeah, instead of just being like, let's meet for coffee or this, like, no, here's the table at City Hall. Let's get a contact from every restaurant and you meet quarterly, like. And this is where you find out all the information that you need to find out.
Jamie,
And I
this
like-
is,
Oh, sorry, I'm
sorry.
sorry. No, you're totally fine.
this is an upside down idea, but if Jared is servicing everybody and you're composting people serving everybody, those day-to-day reps might say, are you interested in taking advantage of this offer that's coming from Webster Groves?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I mean, Garrett Paper they're really
Garrett.
incredible, and they might be interested in that. Also, I wonder if GDA can help us with pulling that sort of leverage, like, is there something that you already have worked out? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? You know,
Yeah, they might be able to even negotiate a bigger one for all of the people that do that,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yeah.
As far as waste removal, you know, that's all, you can use any different one. It's not negotiated on the city level. So that's, you know, having a rep try to push it is not.
that's really tricky because I know it's really hard for restaurants to recycle for that reason, right? Like, Am I understanding that, Eric? Do you know anything about recycling when it comes to the business districts? There we go.
Oh,
Sorry about that. You caught me blowing my nose.
No.
Each business district does have a centralized recycling bin. It's really a cardboard bin and such. But
Okay.
it's their job to move items to that.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of compost, that is something we've talked about. Well, how are we going to do recycling compost in a way that is, not adding in any way a public nuisance, but also highlighting the good work that we're doing through this. So.
Yeah,
Well, if I was a composting company, I'd be trying to get a contract
yeah.
and based on the contract, bringing the best price, just like Waste Management does.
Yeah. And who do you use? Simply Organic?
Yeah, are you familiar with stainless composting? It
Oh,
all
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, that they would be.
St. Louis Composting composts all of the food waste and such at Holy Redeemer. So it's really a no
It
brainer.
is big yellow. Yeah, it's the same company.
Yeah.
Simply
Okay.
Organic is that branch of.
Okay.
What does an audit entail?
I know that it entails somebody from GDA coming, setting an appointment time, coming to the restaurant, doing a thorough walkthrough to understand the practices and then identifying where there is room for improvement and creating kind of like a set list of goals. GDA has a hard line at styrofoam, you have to eliminate styrofoam in order to be a part of the program. So what does that look like? How can we help you achieve that goal? Then they offer training to staff if the let's say the restaurant's and we want to compost and this is a foreign language to all of us. So then the GDA staffer will come in and teach everyone on staff or whoever can come to that, appointment, how to compost, and creates and helps set guidelines and such for that.
Is there a checklist that we could give for our restaurants?
Yeah.
They could see.
Yep, it's on the GDA website, so I can forward that to Eric and he can distribute that to y'all. Yeah, to see what that looks like. Yeah. Mhm.
Do you know the difference in the ratings, like the star ratings?
I do know that compost is a big one.
Mhm.
And so that would get you a higher star rating. If you're doing the bare minimum, I think it's 2. But they also, what they want to see, what is your goal for this year? They want to see growth and evolving for each restaurant each year that passes. So and they help you identify those.
Yeah, it says they have 4 core concepts: banning styrofoam, implement single stream recycling. I guess everyone's probably doing that, right?
No,
No?
it's hard for restaurants
Okay.
to do it. I put beer bottles in my bag all the time. I'm
Okay.
taking them to recycle them.
Phase in
Usually
energy
just 2.
efficient lighting and efficient ballast, so lighting,
Mhm, mhm,
and then waste reduction and diversion goals. They
mhm.
help you with.
Thanks for having that at the ready. Also an important thing that we would like to, sustainability would like you to consider, and this will, as we develop the plan, we can start to get numbers a little more solidified on what it looks like. So we have some money that we could ask council to allocate toward this program. Once we have harder numbers or certain numbers of how many restaurants we would need, we can make some calculations of how much money we would want to put at this. Does the BDC have a budget that, council can approve for you to utilize so that we can collaborate and make this a bigger pot and a stronger success? I also feel really quick, it's really important, sustainability tried to do this on our own the last time, and I think that's where one of maybe the weak spots was, because partnering with you all, I feel makes it raises its value level. And so that's why I'm if you all are interested in seeing this sort of program develop in our community, then being partners with you is really important. I feel for the restaurant community to look at that. That's not just sustainability knocking on their door.
Is anybody against working with them on this initiative?
I think it's a great mission.
Yeah, I did too.
And you only need 2 stars to become GDA certified.
Yes,
So
you can start like it's a process. They want to be able
Want
to,
people to win.
yeah, exactly.
the bar is low.
Yeah.
So with that, we are just like you, we don't have a budget, but we have money that's been
Allocated.
allocated,
Okay.
I guess,
Mhm.
to be approved by the council to spend. So,
Okay.
we're in the same situation,
Okay.
so we would have to wait to hear back from you.
Okay.
With what kind of money we're looking at and work with the council as well.
Okay.
too.
And I'm excited to read your game plan.
Yeah, I'll send that out. And then, there's one more thing I wanted to say. Oh, and then if we do a micro grant, from us, we would obviously work with the folks here at City Hall to help identify what restaurants would need to do. So we would love your partnership in that as well. Once you look at the plan and kind of get a stronger idea of what this scope looks like, then what is important to us that the restaurants are doing, from a Webster perspective. And how can this, and I also have on there like how City Hall can help and identifying how to make it easier to recycle and compost and whatnot. So,
Can you send that to Fran so she can distribute it?
sure,
I'm also wondering if when we schedule like the coffee with the mayor, did she also comes and talks about it, add something like that?
I think the coffee that we're talking about we're aiming for April, right?
Yeah, April 19th.
And yeah,
Might
But-
not be enough time.
well, I don't
Yeah.
know,
Anyway.
April 19th. Is that enough time for the Sustainability Commission to have a thing about the Green Dining Alliance?
I think we have a lot of the framework built. And I think we would probably be able to talk. And we might have more, more solid numbers by that point, and we might be able to talk. Yeah, we'll definitely be able to talk about it. Will we have the grants ready to sign up for the next day? I don't know, but
But I feel like getting some hype around it will really.
well, if, we'd
Yeah.
like to talk about planting seeds.
Yeah.
And so, if we can plant this seed and start to get the word out, then yeah, I'd be happy to attend if that is what you all have in mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another thing that might be like a nice kind of coordinating bit, I don't know how much energy, your commission can put into things, but if there's somebody that can just help set up those times for for them to be evaluated. Do you know what I mean? If you're waiting for a restaurant person and all of the hundreds of millions of things they have to do every week to call in to make an appointment for that evaluation, that's a big hurdle.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't know that adding a middle person between that would add, like, I don't know if that's the best use of our time. But I understand that entirely, and I think GDA is used to that.
They're used to that.
So
yeah.
their Ben, who is their director, he's really good at speaking that language. So I would
Yeah.
leave that to him, because I just
True,
feel like.
that's all they do all
Hi.
day long is like
Yeah.
deal with restaurants.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, this is exciting.
Yes,
Yeah.
very good.
Thanks for the warm reception. Do you all have a reusable bag? From the commission, I brought gifts. Here's that. And let me get you a bag. This is the grant that we wrote before the pandemic, and we still are like, so many bags.
Fun stuff, I like fun stuff.
Have you had
This is great.
some great association events?
Yeah, I don't know how many more you all need. Let me know if you need more.
Yes, again,
Yeah. Wow, these are nice.
Yeah,
yeah. Lightweight, I like that.
and they bag up. Like, there's a
Yeah.
little.
Oh, they do.
Oh, is that what this?
Bag.
Yeah.
There it is. Super cool. Seems like you can never have too many of these.
Thank you. Okay. All right, well, thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you.
Maybe since Jamie is here, do you want to just talk briefly about No Mo April? Because I was gonna update.
Yeah, businesses do it. Our business is eligible to do it.
Yes, yeah, and
Yay.
you do it on your own. just decide to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk about it.
So No Mo April, so No Mo May is a thing that started like, I think in the UK, and then it was brought over by somebody in Wisconsin, and their climate obviously is a little different than ours. And so we decided we'd do a No Mo month, and we picked April. And this is a collaboration between Sustainability and Green Space Alliance, although they've done most of the work. And it's really cool because what we're trying to do, and the city has worked incredibly, like they've been so helpful with everything that all these ideas. But so they suspended any like grass height ordinance for the springtime. So we are encouraging people to select a portion of your yard or your whole yard and allow the natural native flowers to just come up in your grass, and that helps benefit pollinators. So there was a presentation last week at the library, and the scientists there, they have identified that bee populations, pollinator populations are strong in rural parts of America, and they're strong in urban parts, and they decline sharply because of a monoculture here in the suburbs. So our yards, grass, turf. So what are the things that we can do to help our pollinators as they emerge from winter hibernation? It is allowing their little favorite friends to grow. We have to kind of reshift our focus on what is a bad weed and what is a good one. But the whole effort is to really support the pollinator population as they emerge and help them get stronger.
And they are gonna be doing it at City Hall and I think the Recplex, and there are signs available, and I know they are here.
Yes,
Eric?
they're downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, they're right by the
Get them on
bags, if you know where the pile of bags are in
Okay,
that
Well,
corner.
there's one. There's only one.
There's only one sign down there? Oh, I thought I saw a box of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
There's only one put together. They're all in boxes.
My
Yeah.
neighbors on my side.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they mow in the winter, so I need to have the sign, because my neighbors will be.
Well, that's the thing, it's like, we're alive in this house, right?
Yeah.
So there's the QR code on the line that brings folks to the landing page on the city's website that helps explain why we're doing this, so people aren't like, oh my gosh, yeah, like, it's happening here. Where's the code? Yeah. So.
Eric, can you tell us, do you know where they are, if they're not just downstairs?
They all are downstairs. They're in boxes still. The only one has been put together there. So if you go downstairs, you'll see a box there with the wire H frame, and then the signs are right next to it.
Okay. And then you can bring those back after April so that we can reuse them the following year.
Or if you're going to
Or you
continue
can
with
do it
that
again
for
every year.
yourself, you can keep it right in your garage.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do for our community.
You too.
Okay, we are running short on time here, so we will go through old business. Work in Webster update.
Mr. Chair, I think, because I'm about to board as well, so I'm gonna roll Work in Webster, a little thing on the QR code, and then the budget into one here, and then we can reserve the balance of the time for the subcommittee if that works.
Mhm.
So Work in Webster Groves, we did notice last night that the website reset on us for some reason and just reverted back to old jobs. So that's being updated and fixed today to have the current ones that have been submitted reposted and such. We don't know why that happened, but we'll get that taken care of. We are averaging about 8 new posts a week coming in from businesses since the business license renewal and the first round of advertising with the digital went out. So we still consider that a great success, and we have actually talked with our website provider about ways to improve the workflow, allow employers an account, if they wish to make edits and such like that directly in the system and make those postings. So.
Did
Good.
you say 8 jobs a day or a week?
A week in the week. So we're averaging 8 jobs. a
Good,
week.
I think.
Yeah, it is great, yeah.
I'll just jump quick to budget. We did submit a budget to pull any balance remaining in the ARP Business Development Fund, the $100,000. that council put together into next year. So that has been submitted to the manager. Of course, the manager puts together, city manager, a budget that is submitted to the council. I don't expect any issues with the ARP balances being rolled over from this year to next year. So anything we don't use this year will be likely there next year. I can't guarantee that, obviously. That's ultimately a council decision. So, but obviously we do need to, and we are working on spending that money, as we just talked about. So on QR code, Jenny Starkey, Stacy is going to be reaching out, schedule a meeting with you, I, and her to go over the web landing page for the QR code and the mapping of that. And I will, if you have any update on the map issue or map discussion that you were doing on, I'll let you do it. Otherwise, that is the general and brief update on those items that I can give you.
Jean from Kaiser has agreed to do the map for us for free.
Oh, very nice.
Good job.
That's exciting.
Did you know that's for all of Webster?
It's okay. It just depends how detailed you
So let's make it very like,
feel good.
yeah. Chill out.
Oh, she's got it. All right,
She's got this.
all right.
Mr. Chair,
Might
I
be giving yours.
am gonna
Yes,
get off due
Okay.
to my time. And so
Yes.
the city update between Councilwoman Bliss and Sergeant Flannery, there's nothing that Mara didn't say that I was going to say. So it's all there. So
safe travels.
Thank you.
Okay. We are on business district updates.
No, you need to the subcommittee.
Oh, subcommittee. Oh, business engagement subcommittee update. Thank you.
Yeah, so we met twice, 2 productive meetings to help discuss what Mike was gonna present to the council. Kind of like our mission. We wanted to collect the data from the last get together, last coffee. Which resulted in the work in Webster. So our idea is to have a business coffee on April 19th from 8:30 to 10:30 at the Recplex.
We've reserved it to 10:30.
Yeah.
The coffee would be really from 8:30 to 9:30 as far as like when we're trying to engage people, but it's so hard for business people to get together and like stuff that we wanted to give an extra hour for mingling or conversations. So the room is reserved until 10:30.
And then is there speakers at the?
So our idea would be to direct ideas to showcasing the work in Webster, what we've already done. So we're gonna get more steam behind that. And then we're gonna ask in a general sense, how we can help use our funds. And we can curtail the questions to help, how we can use the funds to help businesses in the future. So we like to have between no more than four questions, we kind of decided.
We're trying to update, right?
Yeah.
Like COVID and coming out of it and like everything and getting to this point has changed what people do in a lot of ways and maybe priorities. So from the priorities from that roundtable session that we went to a few years ago, however long that was, to now, things may have changed. So before we start going and looking at like allocating funds or like initiatives or trying to get some steam rolling on things, let's check back in with them and see, has anything different come up? Is there, these are the things that were, remaining from the last session, that we had and we all came together. Are these still everyone's same priorities or, their top ones? And so we're trying to come up with a way for them to easily rank it, like if we give them like different little post-it little tab things, and they can just like put it on something or whatever. And so they can get an idea of also what the priorities are of their peers, So, yeah, that's kind of the thing that we were looking at, and also having like a section where it's like, they could put something that hadn't occurred to us. Because, it could be they come up with something brilliant that, that we hadn't thought of. So, and then of course, that would be also a nice time for everybody to find out more about the Sustainability Commission's green dining lines.
And did you guys invite the mayor to give a little bit of an update or?
I'm not sure what they would
So,
update
Well, the
us on.
process was to make the recommendation to BDC, then you guys have to decide what you want to do. And then that's when you take the next step to invite somebody, because at this point, it's not official. They're telling you what they came up with, but you all have to decide if you want to follow it, and then you make the next step of making it happen.
oh, yeah,
We had the city manager at the last
Mhm.
gathering we had,
so years ago,
right?
years ago.
No,
we
she's
had-
talking about the business
Yeah,
roundtable.
we had a round.
Oh,
table
yeah, yeah,
3
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, I was there. Oh, yes,
So,
I was
yeah.
there. But the difference was, just as a business owner, going to what we used to do with the mayor, coffee with the mayor over at the rec center, and like the mayor would like stand up and give us basically an overall of like what sustainability is up to and what she would give us like all of the
Highlights.
all of the things, the rundown versus what we, as a business owner, what we did down here. This felt very much like I was going to school.
Or
It was
focus
not
group,
fun.
yeah.
It was not exciting. It did not make me want to share new ideas in an exciting way. Versus when we did something that was a little bit more laid back. You know, we got to be face to face with our mayor, which I was a new business at that time, so I thought that was really cool. I just want to throw that out there, that that I just thought was really cool that the mayor came. I mean, I really
There was
did.
a figurehead, yeah.
Yeah,
a leader.
like there was a leader there.
Yeah.
It wasn't a commission coming. It was
Um,
somebody that was voted in. I don't know.
Well, I think both
Yes.
are very good. I mean, you know, working Webster did come out of that. I
Yeah,
mean,
the
so I would
BBC.
say that was a successful event, just simply out of that. And we have data that we can look from that to move forward to what we're talking about here as well, too. So, are you guys?
Well, here's the thing, it's not official yet.
Yeah,
We were just the subcommittee making
Yeah.
a recommendation and trying to hold date. So that this is where the commission now decides what's that day gonna look like. And then we would invite, you know, the mayor to see if they are available to attend or whatever.
Right, and that's where I'm gonna ask, when we had the thing with the mayor, which was before me.
Mhm.
Did the mayor start that process?
no,
She was the staff liaison on the BDC at that time. It was actually a BDC initiative,
Okay,
but it was much more informal than the roundtable.
right,
And it was also, the BDC was relatively new. So it was also explaining
what the
what they
BBC
were there
was.
for and trying to bring everybody together. But it was I was there too, and it was really the first opportunity in quite some time that the business owners had had an opportunity to get together on an informal basis like that.
Okay.
And I think the feel, now, while I was at the business roundtable, and it was very beneficial, it was much more formal.
sure,
With the subcommittee, and I was at the subcommittee meetings, what they all talked about, the impression I got from them was that they did want something much more informal too.
sure.
But yeah, it was,
Yeah,
the
not
mayor
something
was,
where you
the
sit
mayor
down
was
and you
seen as,
fill out things.
it wasn't the chairman of the BDC was there and all the BDC members were there, but the mayor led the event.
Okay, what do we want to, how do we wanna proceed with this? I mean, I
So another component to it would be naturally having coffee or, you know, like maybe some simple, you know, finger snack kinds of things. And so what I had proposed was that we consider allocating some funds and asking the annex to provide that. Because with them comes all of those businesses that are allied with the Civil Alchemy brand and, you know, like their tenants and things like that to get some good momentum and energy from the old Orchard District.
I do worry about a time frame here. Because we need to, if we're asking for funds to be allocated from the council, and we're talking about April 19th.
Do we need to ask the council for like funds for coffee?
Yeah, you've got the money.
We've got the money in our.
You've got 82,000.
Oh, we, and our $100,000,
You have your,
Well, it's 82 now.
your pot of money,
okay,
yeah,
so we can move forward with that. We don't, I thought we still had to go to council too.
no, not for
To
this,
use,
yeah, no, this is like,
This is already in your existing budget.
Okay. So do we want to move this to a vote since we've got the room
We
reserved?
would need to vote at it now
Yeah.
in order to
Right.
do that.
Any more meetings.
Yeah.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, and the commitment would be that all the BDC members would be there. That's kind of what we talked about, and then help
And what's the date of it?
bring
The
everyone,
19th.
April 19th.
So that we can kind of chat with people and get them to understand why we asked them to be there and what kind of information we're looking for from them.
It's Wednesday, April 19th.
Wednesday,
Yes.
okay.
So do we need a motion for this?
If you want to do a real vote,
Right,
yes.
I'll make that
So-
motion to approve funds for this event.
all right, do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll move forward with this and I'm sure there'll have to be some discussions over email, maybe, with anything else that you guys need help with for this.
So part of the, we need to help by email, I would like us to nail down what the different 4 topics are that we're gonna ask them. Are these still your priorities and what's important to you? Then we also need to reach out to the annex and see, like coordinate all of that. But also I think, and Mike has done this before, is to get a good turnout. It's gonna take us approaching people, and saying, hey, it's like a cool thing we're trying to do to get some good momentum and feedback. We'd love it if you'd show up. You'll get to like see some people maybe you don't see very often and, have some good conversations.
I also, I think that if you guys approach it, unless we're bringing you guys on to get information, where we would like to invite you so you can get information about what's going on in Webster. And changing it to that side might entice people more to go.
But wouldn't it dupe them then if we're trying to
Well,
get
no, because
information
it
from
would
them?
be, it would be, no, not if we give them.
We are
information.
giving information,
Yeah.
sustainability.
Yeah, I think if we
So-
bring information, what's going on, because a lot of these business owners, unless if they're on these boards, which we are, and we know what's going on. They have no idea what happens in Webster. They don't even know when the Jazz Fest is sometimes. So I think be able to have. That information there as far as like, here's what the next 6 months looks like, here's some events that are happening. Here's what maybe like you allow maybe the trade association to talk for 5 minutes. Or
Business
anything
owners
like that.
updating.
I don't think
conversation.
we had presentations
Oh, okay.
in mind.
This was like,
This is just more of a mix and mingle kind of
Okay.
thing.
people can have Post-its and write what they want on boards, like have 4 questions type thing.
Otherwise, they would need to be there at a certain time.
Yeah,
We'd have to
I-
have 8,
Open.
I think you will get better results by having some type of presentation.
Yeah,
That's going on in
program.
Webster. There is no information for some of these business owners, and if this isn't it, I do think as a BDC member, I would like to offer up putting something else together that is like that.
I think that
Yeah.
there's definitely value in that. I think that for one day, that would be a lot. To try and
We've done
have,
it before, so I know it can happen. Literally, the meeting that we used to do at the very beginning of the BDC there was so much great information that came from it. And I think it happened 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. I know for sure 2.
Yes,
And as a new business owner in Webster, I found so much value in it. And to be honest, I'm now on 3 boards, 10 years later, I'm super active, and I don't think I'd be in this position had I not been given this information early on as a business owner in Webster. I mean, I'm not saying like everybody needs to be on 3 boards, but I do think it's something that definitely motivated me to do more because I was more familiar with what things were.
Right, you felt more part of it.
I felt more part of it, and I felt more, I just was more knowledgeable, so I had what I needed to be able to do things.
Inspired.
Yeah, but just, I was given resources too by having the information. What is a taxing district? What is the trade association? What are the events? What are the business districts? There's how many business districts?
And what
Oh.
does BDC even do?
And maybe we can incorporate that into the QR.
I am gonna recap though the conversations we've had in the last several meetings, and it was about how do we update the information from the previous surveys and the roundtable discussions on how do we best help businesses. The first step of that was work in Webster Groves, and so we're kind of looking at what is the next step or what else can we do, and so I think the intent several months ago was to bring people together and see what they need, and we're just using a different vehicle than a survey to get that information.
I agree, and Stacy, I mean, I'm with you and understand the success that had. But this is the subcommittee and this is what they
Yeah,
come up with.
oh, yeah, I
So
know,
I
I'm
mean,
just making a
That's
suggestion.
okay.
I mean,
Just
but
when we talk
So
about
we
this,
can-
I don't.
you're,
Definitely don't
Look
lose
at
the
something
idea.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah, I'm not trying to be like, this is how it needs to be, I just mean.
it would be
I
a
would,
lot.
because you guys work here, I think it's important to know how valuable that really was. And I will tell you, there's a lot of businesses that feel that way that are existing in Old Webster. So,
I agree, but
yeah.
for this particular event,
yeah. oh, that's-
less than a month away.
Yeah,
I don't think we can turn it into what you're
Yeah.
talking about right now. It
Yeah.
needs to be more of
something else,
just to add on to what we did
Yeah.
in 2020.
Did we discuss though that the sustainability thing would do a presentation? At that meeting? Wasn't that discussed a few minutes ago?
They're gonna be there to talk about it, but we're
Yeah.
not having AV and all of that kind of stuff.
But that's really what Stacy's saying, like, people can talk about what.
Well,
they
that's
do.
definitely like new news.
Oh, we can
so-
probably come up with all kinds of new moves.
I would like to make I would like to be able to put together a copy with the mayor at some point. That's separate from this.
Okay.
Maybe we'll talk about that next meeting.
Yeah.
after, you know,
Yeah.
this information.
Clarification question for the subcommittee. Because I haven't heard you say it. You talked about doing stations. Is that still something that you guys are putting in your recommendation?
Right, the 4 questions would be separated as stations.
So why couldn't the information at this point that Stacy's talking about be another station?
It's the gathering of the information or putting it together that is gonna be a time crunch for less than a month.
Yeah, I think that's a lot to ask.
I'm just putting it out there.
Can I say something?
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
Hey, sorry I'm not there today, but I have been listening. I was thinking, we were talking so much about this coffee being the first of many. So if we just kind of reiterate to our business owner friends that it's just a good time to get the conversation started, and we will all be there as resources for them to get more information about, what they might have, and then we could parlay that into the next one where we have more information. It's just really just kind of the first. And I don't know if it makes sense. We could also have like a small handout with just a general, these are the events that, like a calendar that happen throughout the year, or if you have questions about, a certain department, this is where you reach. I don't know how complicated that would be to put together. I feel like that'd be pretty easy. I feel like it doesn't need to be like a big presentation this time, but we can do a small piece of that for sure.
Well, we can also ask them what they would like to see at the next one. Would they like, what? Do you want to see something about new ordinances or new construction or, or whatever?
Yeah, because you did say that one of the things you would ask is just a little feedback on the coffee itself.
Sure, or like it was news to me that things have been changed in parking since just even when we opened in 2018. So a lot of businesses may not know that.
I would just like to suggest that in terms of getting the word out, maybe this group could send out postcards to the licensed businesses that say, join us for, put it on the calendar.
So that was part of, what I was leading into before was Mike Pincus said that one of the best ways that they got people to show up before was that he had like a little flyer and literally went business to business in many areas and kind of, just invited people. We're learning this about like women in participation in business and things like that, is that being invited, they show up. It's like an important component. So, I would say that, in addition to emails, like narrowing down what these 4 topics and questions might be, that coming up with a flyer that maybe could be emailed to everyone so that we can do a little reach out. Is there anybody that's willing to do that? To reach out to businesses around them? Yeah, because I'm happy to reach out to like the annex and start that conversation and make sure that all of the people around there have access to knowing about the coffee on the 19th.
Start with John Bart.
What about the chamber? Is the chamber meeting before this? No, it's the day after.
Because we definitely don't want to not, like leave service providers and professional people.
Well, the trade association meetings the day before, so we can remind people.
We can.
Do you
Maybe
get a good
request-
turnout for the trade association meeting?
Yeah,
This week it was pretty good.
yeah.
Brandon, is there no mailing list?
For the city? Yes,
So postcards are pretty cheap in general. We have a budget.
there's an email list also.
I would
There's an
never
email
see
list.
something if it came as a postcard. I mail electronic content. And then I go through it.
Well, the thing is, you have to look at it before you throw it away. That's like
Right.
postcards are just.
But I think you get a good traction with like the Facebook group thing and
That's not really very
Really?
active.
no.
Letting the
Email?
commissions know, all the business commissions know.
The key
Some
is
very-
for the
well, we-
commission members then to talk to somebody else.
Correct.
Lots of times it just stops right there.
Yeah, no. For that purpose.
We're talking about the business center. Facebook.
Well, so
Yes.
but what we identified
That's what
was
she's talking.
there's 18 different business areas in Webster and not all of them have associations or things like that too. So to get the word out, we may need to kind of kickstart some of these reach outs.
What do we think about postponing this one more month? So that we could, are we gonna force something that's not quite ready to be done yet? If we do this less than a month from now?
I think, were we trying to get it close to like when the council was meeting about budget reviews? Is that why we were trying to get some
I
information?
believe so, but Eric said that it can be, revisited as far as if you miss the cutoff, you're not missing opportunity to get funds, so.
Right, I think we were just trying to do it, I think there's like 2 meetings in April, is it, where the council was looking at budget stuff, and so we were trying to get it. We knew we wouldn't make it by the first one, so we were trying to get it before the second meeting.
So this is just to try to get information. This whole thing is just to try to get information on the 4 questions. All of this.
Well, it's about spending money,
Okay.
it's about spending the $82,000 in the ARP,
And potentially asking for more if we need.
if we
more.
needed it.
So this is about a purpose for the BDC, for Mike to talk to the council about. We're prepping Mike, this is
Yeah.
his time to shine, so. What is our purpose? What have we done in the past? It's worked well, working Webster Groves has worked well. So we let people know about that and then really just find out ways for the BDC to help
Yeah.
business owners. We could bring up parking in a question, it's gonna be a hit and miss, from what Eric says, so. One question would be working Webster Groves or one board. Second question would be, how would a QR map help accessibility in your business? A third could potentially be sustainability. Do you,
We are-
how, we can help with sustainability, and then a fourth question would be. Yeah,
We also discussed asking if business owners would be into like a business summit where we would have a bigger thing or a routine calendar of different information. So maybe that could kind of tie into what Stacy was saying. We could connect different service providers with business owners, the city with different business owners, to really meet everybody's individual needs. Do you guys want to
So,
talk
yeah,
more on
could
that?
be- Yeah, that would be kind of like an open house sort of thing where both service providers, like, maybe legal advisors,
CPA and Webster.
You
How
know,
do we
like-
connect service providers to
How do
business
you-
owners?
so like as a new business owner, did you always know or have access to all of the professional advisory services that you needed, legal or
I mean,
accounting or whatever?
When you're starting a
Or
business,
like
yeah.
people that are looking at starting one, how do you get started? How do you get funding?
But that's
with-
like a job fair almost, I feel like, right?
No, that's, you're being hired for something. This is,
Okay.
you're starting something of your own.
So this
Yeah.
would be like. Underscore of a business liaison. We were kind of getting at that, like. Who is someone who can help attract people to Webster Groves? Who knows the ins and outs. So that was just like a way of. Transitioning out. We separated the professional service provider piece and just, we wanted to do round table and just say, hey, give us your feedback. Really, this is what we're doing. So to your point, this is the awareness of work in Webster Groves, sustainability. Some people are doing it here. A QR code, we're working on it. Do you like that? And then what more do you want to see? I mean, that's probably the four questions, in some way, shape or form. It doesn't have to be exactly.
We'll send out an email that all of us agree on what the 4 questions could be. I mean, if we want to push the date off just because,
And we're fine doing that, get more steam.
I am gonna suggest we push this off till May, not till June, when vacations happen and all of that, but I think one more month here would be a much better. Give a little bit more time. I don't feel like it's, for this being the last meeting before this happens, I don't
Right.
feel like.
Yeah.
Everything's
That's
there.
fine.
We're fine, yeah.
Because we haven't been able to talk about it.
Yeah,
So we met twice and, this is
okay,
our plan,
okay. Well, let's,
Yeah, it's just our recommendations, but I'm not,
yeah, no, I think it's great. I think it's great. I just don't think we're quite ready to go.
Totally agree.
Perfect. We can look at other dates for the Recplex. We wanted to have it there and not City Hall.
Yeah,
It's intimidating.
so I would again, do what you did, get a date, pick a date in May, third week, whatever you choose there. And then we tighten everything up, discuss it next meeting, and we'll be ready to go for May.
We like it.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. We've gone long. Does anybody have anything else that we need to discuss?
Do we have any updates on like any kind of road closures or construction or anything going on in Webster coming up?
They're closing Berry. I don't know what's going on there, but
We did learn that, but I am not sure. The details on that.
Southbound lanes are closed till May 8th.
Are they expanding?
No, it's underground electrical. Amber's just working on it.
And do we know what, because they said something about like somebody said something about the water main or something being replaced in Old Orchard or that they're restriping the lanes and stuff. Do we know when that's starting?
I've heard that. I don't know when to start.
Yeah, see,
Was it-
no,
was
this
it-
this is where, well, I don't know if that's even Mara, but we,
It would've
this
been
is
an
why
area
we've
thing.
been asking for this kind of updates here, because businesses need to be able to plan.
The road diet. I have not, it's not on my radar. I heard about it months ago. It has not, we've not been updated on when that's gonna take place. Just know it's in the future.
Ask Todd.
Um,
Todd should know.
yeah, I mean, we can find out. And I'll try to get that for the next, yeah.
Can we put that on the agenda for
Bend
the
is-
next meeting to ask Todd to come in and give us an update on what, we know that there's things they don't know about and you don't know what you don't know. But things that they do know about would be helpful.
That'd be good.
okay,
Get it straight from.
I just wanted to say a couple things.
Yeah.
We did meet, we've been meeting
weekly or at every council meeting, Eric's been doing presentations related to the budget. This last Tuesday was about revenue. And he outlined and kind of defined recurring revenue versus one-time funds and asked council to give ideas or areas they wanted to learn more about other methods of making revenue. Because as we've talked before, the structural deficit is a real thing. Expenditures continue to outpace revenue. So we're really looking at different ways to balance expenditures with revenue. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was if anybody has any questions about the negotiations with the fire union or what led up to the CBA and what is in place now. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody wants to give me a call. Since we're running late, I don't think we can really go into questions right now, but I'm available.
I think it could be helpful sometime to understand, because we know that business licenses are gonna be fewer because people that work in their home don't have to have a license now with the city and pay those taxes. So there's definitely, gonna be a drop in that kind of revenue. Is for as the commission to understand where the revenue comes from. And so that as we're considering ideas and, things that can help businesses too, what can also help the city. So
Sounds good.
understanding budget.
Yeah, I'm sure we would love to hear.
Well, because like,
recommendations
for
from the
example, we
commission.
said the charging stations will be a source of
Yes.
revenue as well, initially an
Yes.
expense, but also a source of revenue.
Yes.
So, but we don't necessarily know where those kinds of things are so that we can say, hey, this is a win for everybody.
And there's some things in motion about how we say Webster's a destination for charging. We're, they're trying to make Webster destination for many things. And that is one of the things is.
Electricity
We're
capital.
just a destination
Yes.
for everything, Webster.
Nirvana.
But with that, I have to go.
Yeah.
I have to go.
All right. Thank you. Can we
Motion to
adjourn?
adjourn.
Thanks for leading us. I did my best.
Great.
Did a great job.
Nice job.
Thank you.